the thing is, if you have the right mindset, you will always find the strategy.
You're listening to the Kristof Lewis Podcast, a podcast where I have conversations with inspirational people. My name is Chris, but my family calls me Kristof. My goal is to have as many conversations as possible with people who have forged their own path by pursuing their dreams, making them a reality, all the while emitting positivity and sharing this knowledge with others. I seek these people out and share this information with you, proving to the world that you can do what makes you happy and do what you want for a living while being a good human being. We'll talk about careers, but we'll also cover any story that inspires. Let's do this while helping each other. Thanks for listening. I'm happy you're here. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Kristof Lewis Podcast. This is conversation number 47, and I love having conversations with inspirational people. Truly, I do. I'm your host, Kristof Lewis, but you can call me Chris. Today, my guest is Tariq Johnson. He's an entrepreneur, and he's a life coach, and he's an all-around great guy. I was very excited to talk to him about his life and how he got to where he is. He owns multiple juice bars right now and a few other companies. But what I love about him, other than his sincere generosity, is his mindset. He used to work with Tony Robbins as a speaker. He invested in himself heavily, but he had already made up his mind that he was going to be successful. So he's okay with investing and in getting in debt with himself a little bit. And then he paid it off in such a quick amount of time because he made up his mind that he was going to do it. I cannot wait for you to hear this conversation. But first, if you haven't already followed me on Instagram, check me out at KRISTOFLEWIS, at Kristof Lewis on Instagram. The link to the podcast is in there as well, but you don't need that because you're listening now. Thank you so much for your support, and if you truly find value from this, which I absolutely and honestly hope you do, please head over to iTunes, rate me 5 stars, tell me what you like or tell me what you don't like and what I can improve on. I would greatly appreciate that. I'm highly interactive with 100% of people that contact me on Instagram, and I'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much. So without further ado, welcome to the Kristof Lewis Podcast.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Glad to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here. Yet another conversation with a truly inspirational person. We connected. So excited we did. We struck up a relationship that I've truly been so thankful for. I've been trying to add value to you. You've been overwhelmingly adding value to my life, and it just makes me want to help you even more. And I think that's so important off the bat, just reciprocating value. I'm so thankful for that. Thank you.
Awesome. My pleasure, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, man. So a lot of reasons I wanted to talk to you. One, you do a lot of life coaching. You are the owner of a few juice bars, and you have a great mindset. I wanted to get into all of these things, but how did you, I know you didn't just start, one huge thing with this podcast is you didn't just wind up the owner of 2 juice bars in different states and being a coach in this manner and having this mindset. How did you evolve into this?
Yeah, so for me, it all started when I was 18. I wrote a book called The Secret. A lot of people have probably heard of the book The Secret and the Law of Attraction.
Yeah, man.
And
I have it.
yeah.
I have the daily one back here. I'm not sure if you can see it. It's sitting here on my table.
Oh, nice.
I read it. I read it every morning. I do my meditation in the morning, my gratitude in the morning, and then I read a page of The Secret.
Oh, cool. Nice. They have an app as well. They have an app where they send you a check, and you have to go through the routine of spending the check every day, so that you can practice honing in your mindset and increasing your financial abundance and your financial thermostat.
Yeah, I had a family friend of mine suggest it to me, and I opted in for this version, and I've really loved it. But you read the book at 18 years old, and it just totally changed your life trajectory.
Yeah, it resonated with me when I was reading it. I was kind of at the point where I was hanging around people that probably weren't going to be good for me and the trajectory.
Yeah, man. I know that feeling.
Yeah. So when I read the book, I was instantly hooked in thinking about different events that had happened in my life where I had used the law of attraction unknowingly, and all of a sudden those events had made so much sense for me.
Sure.
And I can share some specific examples later. They're pretty cool stories, and that really kind of got me down the rabbit hole. So I started reading The Secret, then I got into Wayne Dyer, and then that led to kind of more business motivation stuff. Started listening to Tony Robbins, and I just immersed myself in personal development. I would listen to it all the time. I would buy thousands of dollars of programs. Actually, by the time I was 19, 20 years old, I had about $20,000 in credit card debt from just going to seminar after seminar, retreat, coaching
But
programs.
see, that's what people don't do, Tariq. They don't invest in themselves. And you did it at 19, 20 years old, and I'm just now learning later in life. But it's better late than never to invest in yourself. And I think people are so quick to drop money and drop so much cash and just swipe that credit card for other things that aren't investing in themselves. Whatever it is, a new car, things that we may not need, just merchandise, whatever. You can get lost in Amazon, like all these crazy things. But it's so easy to click add to cart, add to cart, add to cart. But when you're investing in yourself, I don't see people doing that. I mean, for Christ's sake, I had a hard time doing it too until I realized, what is a couple $100s here if it's going to instill this mindset, and it's essentially like a cheat sheet, and that's not a bad thing. Why would I spend the time trying to figure out shit that's already been figured out? Why not talk to somebody or learn from somebody that's already learned that, right? So investing in yourself, doing what you did way before I ever had this mindset is huge. So I want to catch people earlier in their life as they're listening to this and be like, listen to my guest right now. He was investing in himself, and now you are where you are because you made those decisions.
Yeah, 100%. And what's interesting is that at some point it's like a bell curve. It becomes a tipping point where people may be taking actions and working hard, and they're not seeing the yield, they're not seeing the result, right? And they're getting discouraged. And for me, there was a point where I'm watching the credit card debt rack up. I'm seeing it happen. I'm seeing it happen. Kind of starting to feel guilty and starting to question whether I should continue investing in myself. And then I remember when I had my real first full-time role as a financial advisor. And, I was paid based on my performance and the revenue that I generated for my company. And I was able to leverage all those years of personal development and pay off all that debt in 3 months.
That's incredible.
So
that's,
yeah.
I mean, I'm glad you say that, because that goes to exactly what I was saying. People, I think, don't see the potential of what all of this investing in yourself could get you, because it's not like something, if I click add to cart, I know it's going to get to me 2-day free shipping, and it's going to be in my hands and I can see what I bought. But I think it may be harder for people to wrap their minds around investing in a book or a coach or somebody that's going to help them for real, but it's in your head, so they can't really, tangibly grasp that. But here you are saying you did these things and you did this for years. I mean, $20,000 is not a little bit of money to be able to, and especially on a credit card. The point we're making here is that you did it over years. You invested in yourself. You took the risk because it's risky, because honestly at the time you don't know if it's going to yield anything, but you knew all you wanted to do was invest in yourself. And then in 3 months you paid it off. To me, that's incredible.
Yeah, thanks. And that mindset wind up being a mindset that proved to help in business too.
Sure.
I mean, the juice store that we opened up in California, we built that one from scratch, and it was $300,000 to get that store open and up and running before you even make a penny, And then the store, we bought an existing location here in Florida. That was a pretty penny as well. So that same mindset of investing yourself and building that habit and that ability to step into the fearfulness of buying something or investing something, it winds up carrying over to different aspects of life.
Yeah,
so I feel like, that practice when I was younger helped to kind of reinforce that trust and that confidence, in myself.
Absolutely. You're instilling it early. You're proving to yourself that it's absolutely possible to invest in yourself greatly, take the risk, reap the rewards later. And it happened pretty quick. And I don't think it's maybe always going to happen that quick, but it did to you because you chose to do it. And then, like I said, it proves to yourself that you're just able to do it later in life. And I think it's just, and again, more and more and more I find out that when you know already you can do something, like I've talked about the 4-minute mile a lot lately with some people offline. When somebody knows that another person ran the 4-minute mile for the first time, everybody else ran the 4-minute mile. So within yourself, if you know that you've invested literally thousands of dollars and then it paid off within 3 months when you actually started applying it, you already know it's possible in that moment. So then all these other bigger adventures, now we're talking about $300,000, you're a lot less apprehensive to do that, even though it's a lot of money, because you know it's going to happen. No, like there's no plan B. It's going to happen, and I can do this.
Yeah, 100%. Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, it's addictive is another way I think I can describe it as, is because you know it happened once and you're like, oh my God, I can't, like, this is incredible that I did this. I didn't know if I could do it, but I did it. And then you carry on like, I want more of this. I want to continue this. I'm going to keep on doing this. And it's all this, and then that builds consistency. So you want it to keep on happening, and because you want it to keep on happening and you know it can keep on happening, then you build this consistency. And when you have this consistency, this huge wave of momentum comes behind you, and then you have this huge wave of momentum pushing this consistency, and it just keeps on going and going and going. It's like pushing a block over logs, but when you stop, like a lot of people do, and the block rolls off the logs and the wave has subsided, then you got to you try to push that 2-ton block. It's not going to go anywhere, right? But if you keep if you keep it moving, you're good to go. And I think that may be a silly little metaphor there, but it's so, to me, the visual helps, because it's just, I just envision, investing in yourself. And then the more investment you do, the bigger and the stronger the push is, and the easier you'll be able to go through. And I say easy, I choose that word specifically because people will be like, well, it's not easy. I've come to the conclusion recently that it is easy, even when it's hard, because you've already made up your mind that you're going to do it no matter what. Like, you made up your mind to invest the $300,000. I made up my mind that I was going to put one podcast out for 52 weeks, and I'm almost there. And I've made up my mind to do some other things that I have yet to, I'm going to be a silent warrior for now. But you've made up your mind, and it becomes easy. All you have to do is act. And yes, acting is way harder than intention. But when you make up your mind to do something, that's a huge part there, because you can lie to a lot of other people that I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. You can't lie to yourself about doing these things. You can't lie to yourself about investing $300,000, because it's $300,000. And if you don't do that, some bad things are going to happen to you. You got to burn the ships.
Yeah, 100%. And, there were times where I had invested in various courses and hadn't followed through. Sure. And so, there were times where, it starts to affect your mindset, right? When you don't follow through on something you committed to. Yeah. And I remember telling my wife when we were making the investment to open the store, I said, mark my words, this is something that I'm not going to let fail. And I love hearing that. Through various, having the right mindset and some specific strategies and good planning, we were able to be profitable our second month in business, which is pretty unheard of for a physical storefront location. We were opening in a new market. The demographic numbers didn't quite support opening a store there, but felt really confident with it. And so, like you said, when you just make that decision, you make that commitment, and then you just follow through. You take it step by step, day by day.
I think, I love what you said, but it reminds me of like desperation. I've talked about desperation a lot lately too. And essentially you be desperate to have that work. I mean, because you have no other option. Like, you looked at your wife and you said, it's going to happen. I'm going to make this happen. And it's not necessarily always out of desperation, but I'm saying these drastic things, these things that, are non-negotiables, that no shit have to happen. You have to make them work. I think a lot of times, a lot of people make up reasons in their head why it can't work, because maybe other people didn't do it or other people didn't risk it. And I think when people start doing that, when they start listening to other people because they haven't done it, like I talked about it, I was on a podcast last night and I was telling her when I got out of the Navy, everybody told me professionally that I shouldn't get out of the Navy because I couldn't get a job. I don't have a college degree. I'm never going to land a job. And if I land a job, I'm not going to be happy doing it. And I proved them wrong. And I burnt my ships. I had no plan B. I knew I wanted that job. I went all in. And I looked at my wife just like you looked at yours. And I said, I'm going to do everything in my power to get the job. And I don't have the degree. I don't even technically know how to perform at the bar that the job has, but I know I want to work there. I know I like the environment. And then lo and behold, check it out. I made this decision in the end of 2015. I got the job last year.
Wow.
So I studied for it for about 2 years. This may be big news to people, but I knew I wanted to work there. I talked to my buddy that had been working there. I realized that I would like to work there, and I had been studying it for it that long. I knew I didn't have the college. I knew I didn't have the aptitude to do it technically, but I knew I had it up here, and I made the decision I want to work there. I didn't even look at another job.
That's crazy. That comes back to, I mean, really the primary, the brand that I'm building right now is all about business, money, and mindset. And when I traveled the country for Tony Robbins, I delivered over 200 workshops for Tony Robbins.
Yeah, that's crazy. I want to talk about that too. That's such a cool opportunity. We have to get into that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Well, one of the biggest parts that I learned from working for Tony Robbins and giving all the workshops around the country and meeting a lot of really successful people and helping them with their businesses or their careers is that 80% of our success is our mindset.
Sure.
The ability to have that unstoppable, unshakable mental attitude and belief, and 20% is the strategy and the tactics. And most people get caught up because they focus so much on the strategy and the tactical side of the business. What do I need to do? How do I do it? And the thing is, if you have the right mindset, you will always find the strategy, right?
Absolutely.
But if you have the right strategy, you may have the thing sitting right in front of your face. I mean, like for someone who wants to get in better shape, I mean, it's the easiest example, right? I mean, You look like you work out, you look pretty fit.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. I work out, 5-6 days a week. I like to keep my body in shape.
Yeah.
But for people that want to get in better shape, it's not rocket science, right? I mean, you can go on YouTube and the free content is all there on how to lose weight, how to lose fat, how to gain muscle. So the strategies are there. The 20% of it's there. At that point, it becomes the 80%, the mindset, right?
Yeah.
When your alarm goes off and you said you're going to wake up and work out early, are you going to do it? When you're driving by Dunkin' Donuts and you can smell the fresh scent of those donuts, the question is, are you going to act on it and eat it? So it's not about the strategy. You do need to find the strategy, but if you have the right mindset, you'll always find the strategy. You'll figure it out.
Absolutely, man.
Which is what you did.
Absolutely, and that's what I had to do, and that's what I'm doing right now to be able to build this podcast up and everything that I want to do with the podcast. I already made up my mind that I want to do it. And like you said, sometimes it can be right in front of you. Like, again, I was describing in this podcast, she's like, how did you start your podcast? And I've talked about it a little bit, but what I haven't talked about actually until I did last night on the podcast was when I had recorded the first conversation with Mike Ford about stock trading, I literally just wanted to talk to somebody about stock trading that did it professionally because other people wanted to hear it and I knew they could gain value from it. And I enjoyed it. It got great feedback. And I said, well, let's keep it going. And then I didn't even, and it's funny. Let me digress for a second because I named the first conversation number 1 without knowing there was going to be a conversation number 2. So that's like a fun little tidbit about the podcast that I actually realized last night when I was telling her, and I couldn't believe it. And actually, quick tangent, I was on Inez's podcast last night, and she's been on this podcast, so I highly encourage people to check out her podcast and the one with me. And when it goes back to all the way to the beginning of our conversation, reciprocation, like I couldn't wait to be on her podcast and help her out with all the wonderful things that she's doing.
Yeah.
But when I started my podcast, I had no idea that it was right in front of me. I had no idea that I wanted to do more, but I named it number 1 anyway. and I just kept on going. And it's just incredible how it was in front of me, and I already had started, and I knew what my intention was, and I just started acting on it, and then just unfurled, and here we are at conversation number 47. So I could not agree more when you say something like that. It's crazy how it happens when you just really want to do something and you just start doing it. And sometimes you're like, well, maybe I don't know what's going on. I don't know which way to go with my life. Or maybe sometimes it's right in front of you and your eyes are closed to it. You're blind to that.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And kudos for continuing to take action, man. Yeah, episode number 47. That's amazing. It's a testament to that, to just get started. I mean, it's one of the things that
it's that momentum, man. It's caught fire. I'm telling you, it's the testament to getting started. Absolutely. And it just, you make up your mind. I made up my mind to do X amount of, deliver this, and then you just keep the momentum, and it sucks during the way and you don't know how to do things, but you make it happen.
Absolutely.
It's too crazy to me. And so you were speaking, or you were traveling around the world with Tony, speaking for him, before him. How did this work? And how did you get into that?
Yeah, so I was one of 6 peak performance strategists for Tony, and so we travel all around the country. And basically, Tony has a seminar called Unleash the Power Within, which is his flagship seminar, kind of his intro seminar. It's a 4-day seminar if you include the bonus day. Our team, we were kind of like the Navy SEALs of the company, in a sense, where whenever Tony would be in a city, we'd go out to that city 3, 4, 5 months in advance. And our role was to get into as many companies as we could, go in and speak. And we would deliver kind of a 1-hour version of that 4-day workshop, sure, teaching Tony's material. And then with the end result to ultimately get people to sign up to buy a ticket to go to Tony's event. So, I would walk in a room of strangers, 20 or 30 people, and sometimes it was 7:30 in the morning. They're still waking up, don't want to be there. And then, getting them fired up, feeling like, they could accomplish their goals. They could really realize their dreams, whether in their business, making more money, getting in better shape, and having them experience that feeling in the workshop, getting tangible tools and strategies that they could actually walk away with just in that 1-hour workshop, sure, alone, whether they decided to go to Tony's event or not. And so it was really a transformative experience for me. Yeah. And I was really able to hone my ability speaking, presenting, although I was already a naturally a good presenter, having been in financial services and just having some good genes and kind of taken after my dad, who's always been very articulate and a good presenter. And the way that what had happened was, so I started out getting my investment licenses when I was 19 years old. I dropped out of school and committed to working full-time in financial services. At the time, my dad, his motto was, school is the number one priority, making money is second. And for me, I just had no interest in school. I'm not saying people should not go to school. Sure. For me, it was just the path that was right for me.
Same way for me, man.
Say it again.
No, I'm sorry. I'm just saying that's the same exact thing that it was for me. I could not care less about schooling, but I cared about all these other things. I always enjoyed working. I always enjoyed working on things that I really cared about. So that resonates with me as well. And it's a great point because, like I always say, it just, what works for you? If this formal education works for you and that is a prerequisite for a job that you want to do, then so be it. But you don't have to find success going that path that most people do. You can do completely other things, completely different things.
Yeah, and for me, I was being very tactical and strategic about it, right? Where I started to invest in myself, and so although I was dropping out of formal education, the way I was educating myself was reading books like Think and Grow Rich, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I was reading books like that. I was going to seminars. I was listening to Tony Robbins on YouTube. So I was self-educating, and then my mindset also was, now that I have these investment licenses, I have a technical license and certification. So, whether or not I have a degree, as long as I have these licenses, the likelihood is that companies are going to want to employ me. And the beauty about the financial services industry or at least the type of role that I was in, is that it was very performance driven.
Sure.
So, the licenses could get me in the door, so to say, or at least get me the interview. And then I don't think, don't quote me on this, but I don't think there's ever an interview that I've sat in front of someone for that I did not get. I just always had that mindset, had that ability to land the job. And once I got into the role, I would perform and I would work really hard. So, that made a huge difference. So to kind of pivot back to why or how I wound up getting involved in Tony Robbins so I was in financial services for about 2 or 3 years. I'd finished this financial advisor training program that I had got promoted to at this company. So I got even more licenses through that program, and I got assigned a territory, and I was covering 4 or 5 bank locations and helping their customers and clients investing their assets and with retirement strategies. And I was listening to Tony Robbins all the time, and I felt really insecure about the fact that I was really young. I think I was 21, 22 at that time. And, I was, you're sitting down with people who have hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes millions of dollars to invest. And so I was listening to Tony, and what Tony would say is that when 2 people are in rapport, the person who is most certain will always win. And so what I did was I made a conscious decision to work on my ability to be certain. And so I would approach my meetings with my clients with a high level of certainty that I can help you. I'm the one sitting behind the desk. I mean, I didn't say that to them, not in an arrogant way.
Sure,
but just
sure.
I
got you.
Just in a sense of confidence, right? Rooting that confidence, saying, look, I mean, I've been studying this stuff for 4 years. I have all these licenses and certifications, and I know without a doubt that I can help them. And so I started applying that, and within 1 or 2 months, I had my first 5-figure month. And I go, oh, wow, this stuff works. And then I bought my first house. And then I started to continue to have success, and I started to deliver sales training for the personal bankers for my region, then the assistant managers and the branch managers. And so I thought, all right, I got to go to UPW. I got to go to Unleash the Power Within, Tony's event, because if I can get these results from YouTube videos,
sure,
imagine what's possible from going to the event.
Yeah, man.
And I wind up connecting with someone who worked for the company, and she had just exited the role that I wind up becoming, and there was a spot open. And the long story short, I went through hell and back to get the role. The company rejected me and turned me down a number of times.
Yeah.
But similar to your story about how you pursued that company for 2 years, I was relentless, and my mindset just was unshakable. And I took the leap, and I left, a job that I, was already making, 6 figures at 22 years old after I just bought my first house, and took the leap and went on the road for TR.
That's nuts, man. It truly is, because one, there was no way in the mindset that I had when I was in my lower 20s was I ever going to be, it just wasn't possible. And I can say that because my mind wasn't there. You're talking about your mind, and my mindset, there was no way it was going to allow me to be that productive in my life. I was too selfish. I was too many things that I'm not proud of. I mean, it was who that's who I was. I get it. But and it just goes, everything that you've talked about, making up your mind to invest in yourself, making up your mind in the juice bar later, making up your mind now, being relentless, like, since you started telling your story from your later teens all the way till we're talking now, that's how you've done all of these things. And you said, 80% mind, I would say, and I was talking to Boss a couple conversations ago, and he was saying, and he was a fighter, and he's like, I told him it was 100%, and he's a fighter, and he's saying it was 100% mental, and everybody's like, thinks I'm crazy because you're a fighter, it's not 100%, but he's like, well, without making up my mind, it's 100% not gonna happen if I don't make up my mind. So he related it to like that. So that to me was really important. But you are always act. You are action. You are like making it up in your mind that you are going to get it no matter what. And you did get it. And I think too many people, again, sell themselves short, think it's unobtainable. but they need to completely shift their mindset and tell themselves that it is obtainable, because the average thought, the average person, that's what they're thinking. They're thinking that it's not obtainable, but these things are obtainable, and you're living proof. And that's why I do this podcast. You're living proof. I'm talking to somebody that just invested in themselves, realized these things, continue to invest in themselves, continue to believe in himself, apply it, not just say he was going to do it. And here you are. Thank you. Thank you for letting me share this story. It's incredible.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. Yeah, absolutely.
Dude, it's just, to me, it's so cool, because then you've done all these things, and then you'd be able to go, be an open speaker. I'm not sure what the technical term is. You're going out there headhunting 4 or 5 months for somebody who is just, absolutely blowing away the competition in what he does. And that's huge. And it speaks so much for yourself, man.
Yeah, absolutely. It was an amazing experience. I loved it. It was great. And that's how I wound up actually meeting my wife, was at a UPW event. So I always say that the best experience, the best thing that happened out of all that was that I met my wife.
Absolutely. That's a beautiful thing. And I can say that confidently, because not only did you meet your wife at an event, you met her at an event that you cared so passionately about. And to me, that means a lot, truly. Because if you're the type of person that, think about it, because you were so relentless, because you met her after you got the job, right?
Oh yeah.
So that's why I can confidently say, to me, it's like unraveling my head how beautiful it is. Because you were so relentless with getting the job, you found your wife. Like, you guys met. That, to me, hits a note.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's crazy too. It reminds me of a story, is that, one of the things that I work with some of my current clients is the power of making a decision today and pushing through today, and how that impacts tomorrow, or how that impacts 3 years, or how that impacts 5 years.
Yeah.
Like when I started having all that success at 22 and making all that money, which at that time I thought was a lot of money, and then I got introduced to more and more, and that was exciting, and that was fun too. But I wanted to buy my first house, and because I was only in the role for a few months, or 6 months at that time, when you want to get a loan, you have to have 2 years of tax returns when you're on a commission basis.
Sure.
And so I wanted to buy a house, and I couldn't. And I was able to convince my dad to co-sign on a loan with me. And then I had to figure out a way to pay off my debt, and then save enough money for the down payment. And that's when I just started killing it even more, was able to have some really monster months. That's when I paid off all of that debt in 3 months, and saved enough money for the down payment for the house. Because it was like, I have to get this house. I have to get this house. I was so obsessed with it. And then fast forward to, what was this, 8 years ago, fast forward to today. And I wind up selling that house 6 months ago, using that money to buy the store here in Florida that we bought. So it's just crazy that it would have been so easy, with all of the obstacles that were happening, to not be able to purchase that house. And I was just taking it day by day, step by step, and then fast forward, and the ability to, write a check for that business and be able to purchase it, was really, really exciting.
I didn't understand that when I was, 10 years ago. I didn't understand that. I think I started to understand it 5 or 6 years ago, slowly, and I'm still understanding it. And I hope I continue to understand these type of things. But what I am definitely understanding, and recently, and I've talked about it a lot on Instagram lately, me not snoozing, because I was a habitual snoozer my entire life, and I woke up and I was so tired throughout the entire day. And the reason I bring this up here is because I'm starting my day off not snoozing. And you're talking about today changing tomorrow. Well, me not snoozing, that moment turns into the next thing I do, which is meditate, which turns into gratitude, which turns into thinking about my goals for the day. So I'm knocking these things out, and all these little things, how I start my morning, and then I go to the gym. Then I have a good gym session because if I do all these things in the morning. So I'm starting my day off, and this just really sets me in the right mindset like we're talking about. And then physically I'm applying it, and I have a great workout, which reciprocates. We're talking about reciprocating. It reciprocates my mental well-being, and these things just come in together, and they just get so in sync before my day really even starts. So before, 7:40, no, by 6:30 a.m. I've done all these things, and I am mentally, spiritually, physically just in sync because I was so happy with my life. I'm happy because I can pay my bills. I'm happy for my wife and my baby to be. I can live comfortably, but comfortably is a very, very dangerous place to live if you want to better yourself. So I've realized this, and just as you give the physical example of in a gym, you can physically plateau in the gym. You can physically plateau in your life. And I had these good things and I had this comfortability here, but I wanted to better myself. But I kept on thinking and thinking that I want to better myself and I want to better myself. And I was like, why are things not getting better? And then so I went all the way back to 2 weeks ago, and my life has changed drastically because I decided not to snooze, because it led into that. It led into my morning starting off good, which led into my day starting off good. And then just like you're saying, led into because the days turn into weeks. So then I have a good week. And oh my God, a good week, that turns into a good month, and then a good year. And then you have no idea how these things are going to affect you years down the road. Just like you said, it's mind-boggling. So why not invest in 2 seconds in the morning that's going to set your morning up, because you're setting your life on the right path by doing this little thing in the morning. Because if my goals in my life are put to sleep by me wanting to sleep, then I'm not going to be able to accomplish anything. If I can't hit the snooze button in the morning, how am I going to run a business? If I don't have enough in me to hit the snooze button and get up and work for what I want, how am I going to be able to work for what I want if I'm asleep? It's not going to happen. It just starts with that.
Absolutely.
And it's easy for me to wake up now. It's easier for me to wake up because I made the decision to do it. It was hard for years, for my entire life, decades. It was hard because I said I wanted this, but I didn't make up my mind. And then I made up my mind because I looked in the mirror and I said, I've had enough. I have had enough. Like literally looking at myself, because like I said, I can lie to you. I can tell you all these things I want. But if I lie to myself, or what if I lie to you, I know that I'm lying. And that's worse to me than anything I can possibly do for this situation that we're describing here. So if I say I want all these things to you, honestly, which I do, and things about we've talked offline personally, if we talked about these things, I can tell you all these things, and if I don't follow through on them, I'm going to feel terrible about myself. And if I can't do the little simple things in the morning, I'm going to feel terrible. And then again, on the inverse, all these negative little things that, this pebble in my shoe is going to build up, and I'm going to have a huge blister by the end of this. And inversely, 10 years from now, I could be in a way worse place than I ever imagined because I was snoozing every single morning. And some people might think that's crazy, but I think it takes a crazy mindset to think, like we were talking about, the average of what most people are. Well, I'm going to take it that way because, it's this thing when I heard it when I was a kid, the moon is what, like 1 million miles away. So if you miscalculate, and I could be totally wrong, please don't fact check me right now, but if you miss, my point is it's so far away that if your spaceship traveling to the moon and your math is off by 1 degree, you're going to miss it by whatever by 1,000 miles. Or whatever. The math doesn't matter. The point I'm trying to make is these tiny little changes in your life, for better or for worse, can absolutely change the trajectory of your life. You made the decisions to do it, to invest in yourself, to say that, yes, I can do it and I will do it, and then I've done it. And I'm doing the same thing right now with not hitting the snooze button. So to me, it doesn't sound crazy. to me, it doesn't sound crazy to say, I'm not going to hit the snooze button. I could be in a very bad place, bankrupt in 5 or 10 years. Because if I'm not willing to do that, that's what the life I'm willing to accept.
Absolutely. And then what happens is that muscle winds up building, and it applies to the other areas of life, right? Where, excuse me, all of a sudden you can keep your word with waking up early and doing that, and it's a small little thing. And then that leads to being able to keep your word and execute on something with the podcast. And then it gets the levels and the stages get bigger and bigger and bigger if you get bigger as a person. And it's something that a client that I'm working with, that I'm coaching, and we were just kind of talking about some of the feelings and beliefs that were coming up for her and building her brand. And I said, look, like these things and doubts, and they're normal, they're natural. Everyone feels it. I mean, I follow Ed Milet. I don't know if you ever heard of Ed Milet.
Yeah, I love Ed. He's a great guy. He's a great guy.
Yeah, I love him. And he was on his Instagram today talking about, I mean, the guy's worth hundreds of millions of dollars. He was on his Instagram today saying, man, today was one of those days where I was just doubting everything I was doing. I was doubting if I could do it. I was doubting if I could make a difference. And the point of it was him saying that, look, at every level it shows up. And for me, it comes up as the stakes get bigger and bigger, but you learn that it's just a natural thing of our monkey brain and mind of these things popping up.
Yeah.
And then you just learn to go, oh, okay, I remember this. I know what this feels like. And I wrestled for many years at a very competitive level. And, I remember I was on a 24 win streak, and I'd be wrestling a guy that I knew, we would call him like a fish. Like, you just look at him, you could tell, like, I'm about to destroy this guy. And even before those matches, I would get nervous. I would get nervous before every match. And, you learn that you just leverage, you transmute that energy.
Sure.
And it just becomes something that's normal, part of the process. And when you understand that as part of the process, then you're able to really win the day and wake up early. For me, I've been waking up at 5 a.m., but I have to. If I don't put my phone in the kitchen and my phone goes off near me, then the likelihood of me actually getting out of the bed at 5 a.m. goes down significantly. I am batting 1,000 when that phone is in the kitchen. So you figure out a way to also have strategy to set yourself up for success as well. Yeah,
I'm probably going to do that. I had a close call this morning. I almost fell back asleep inadvertently through no fault of my own. Well, I guess through a fault of my own. But I didn't do it. That's the point. That's all that matters. I got up. But putting it away from yourself, you have to have the strategy, and then you have to be willing to act on the strategy like you were saying. So that you're batting 1,000 by putting it away where you cannot reach it no matter what, because your subconscious mind is so trained to probably just hit that snooze button where you're literally not awake yet. You are not awake, so your hand just goes out and you go to hit it. So if you're putting it out of place, like, please do this. If you're listening to this and you want to do this, do what Tariq is doing and do this. And I'm going to start doing that too, because I got a couple close calls, man, but I absolutely love that.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, man. So seriously, thank you so much for your time, but I really want people to gain even more value from you. So what's the best way to get a hold of you, and what else are you doing, man?
Yeah, absolutely. So, first thing I would say is go to my website, tariqjohnson.com. So TARIQ Johnson.com. I have this really amazing 7-step blueprint to business profits in 60 days. I share with you my exact formula for how I was able to have the store be profitable. And actually, I did the same thing with the landscaping business when I was 18 years old as well. So make sure you get it. It's really powerful. And then you can also follow me on Instagram, which is at Tariq Johnson Official. And I post cool stuff there, some mindset strategies, business strategies, as well as a little bit of the day in the life and what I'm up to and what I'm doing day by day.
Yeah, man, I love watching it. It's good to see other people doing similar things. Like, you're up early, you're up getting after it every single day, and it equally motivates me. Awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool, man.
Well, listen, Tariq, I've absolutely enjoyed my time with you today. It's a true pleasure talking to you, and I love feeding off of positive energy. This is one of the many things that I love about this podcast, is not just speaking to the guests, but speaking to everybody that's involved in the podcast. And I say everybody that's involved in the podcast because I truly believe that it's not just you, it's not just me, it's not all the guests I've had, but everybody that listens to the podcast, everybody that interacts with me on all the social media outlets. They are the podcast. They are why I keep doing the podcast, because we all want to help each other out, and we can definitely help each other out while helping ourselves. Like, you invest in yourself, we're investing in ourselves right now while we're investing in each other. And that's what this is about. So I'm super appreciative, and I'm so thankful of your time, man. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, I really enjoyed the conversation, and we've had many exchanges, offline, and I've enjoyed those as well. So yeah, I think the people that are in your life and you surround yourself with, I mean, it has a major impact on how it affects you or me. And I've made a conscious decision to make sure that I'm surrounding myself with people that are inspiring and powerful, and that are doing good and have a good mindset. And so I'm glad to put you in that circle.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, man. It reminds me of a quote, and it goes just with what you said. He said, "Show me your friends, and I'll show you your future." I'm sure we've heard of that, and if you haven't heard of it, embrace it and never forget that, because you're so right. The people that you keep close to you, you are the, you've heard this too, that you're the average of those people. But if we're talking about that it's 100% mental, then if you have that negativity in your life, it's going to negatively affect you. So you need to keep people in your life that are where you want to be, and you need to help them while they help you. And you've helped me so much today. Thanks.
Awesome. My pleasure.
All right, man. We'll see you later.
All right. Sounds good. Take it easy.